What's up, everybody? Noah Kisser back here for another episode of No One Scottie Reviews. This is a very special episode. We got a lot for you this week. We have our best and worst of 2023. We have our Scream ranking, ranking and reviewing all 6 Scream movies. We'll also be reviewing 2 movies. And we got the Golden Globes. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with our top 10 best and worst of 2023. And would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So I got some honorable mentions. All of these are films I really do enjoy, and sadly, some of them are not out on physical yet. And if they are, they're coming. they're coming. That's the main point. But let's get right into it. My first one is going to be for Blue Beetle. I love this movie. It's very, very fun. George Lopez is fantastic, and I love the lead star. Give me more Blue Beetle. We got the Super Mario Bros. Movie. The more I think about this film, the more I want to rewatch it more and more. And on first watching, I did not love this film overall. I liked it, but I was on a watch-along live, and I enjoyed it more. But I'm going to watch that again this week. We got Knock at the Cabin. Really, really well done film. We also have a rom-com that nobody has seen besides you and me, apparently, and that's Maybe I Do. You and I are very split on this film, but you know what? I really enjoyed that film. It's stupid fun, but some films that I don't have yet that I do want to bring up. One is not even available on physical yet, unless Netflix is nice. It's Your Place or Mine. I thought that was a very fun rom-com on Netflix with Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon. Sweeter than chocolate. I do have a 9-movie set or a 12-movie set from Hallmark, but A Man Called Otto and Fast 10 are also on that list with Shotgun Wedding. Now, since we're not counting the Hallmark films, we're only counting the streaming films and the bigger blockbusters. So my number 10 is going to be a bit of a toss-up. Number 10 is always the hard one because you have to go, okay, which one do I like more? Is it this one or this one? And you just got to pull the trigger on it. I'm going to say it's The Little Mermaid. The main reason is because I was in this theater, and normally I'm in the theater. I'll check my phone to see how much longer I have in the film, since this is, 50 minutes longer than the original movie is?
Yeah.
While there is some issues, I just had such a fun time with this. I was smiling throughout the whole entire thing. I enjoy the new songs. Scuttlebutt is an exception. The more you think about it, Scuttlebutt is a bad song. It did not need to be in there, but I like that they give a lot more to Eric's story. I like they give her another song. I did enjoy the little cameo by Jodie Benson. I know not everybody loves this film, but hey, it's a very unpopular opinion, but it's not technically a better film than the original animated classic because we haven't seen it enough yet. But I think that people went a little too hard on this film. One, because of the change of race, which made no difference because she's a mermaid. But also, because it is longer, it's new. The Little Mermaid wasn't loved as much as I think it is now, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't around then, but...
I was around, but I don't remember.
But I really enjoyed that film. Next up is going to be The Holdovers at number 9. The Holdovers is a movie I spent $25 on to buy on digital because there was no Blu-ray even announced yet for it, I don't believe. And Walmart does not sell the Blu-ray, so I'm going to have to buy this. This is a very fun, Christmassy film that is a dramedy with great emotion, terrific performances, and a powerful message. Paul Giamatti is probably going to be nominated for some awards. He is nominated at the Golden Globes, which we'll speak about in just a little bit. Dominic Sessa is fantastic, and Divine Joy Randolph is a fantastic lead in here. I loved her as a side character. Her story is heartbreaking. Love this director and the combo, but this film just felt a little bit too long to get it to that full 5 stars. Number 8, very unpopular opinion, is The Marvels. I'm not going to speak on this very long because I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but The Marvels is a film I went very easy on. The Marvel films have not been as good this year. I personally think this is the second best MCU film of the year, the third best Marvel film of the year because of the very fun story, the out-of-the-box thinking with the musical planet, the cats who eat people, and then spit them back out. I enjoyed that. I thought it was very funny. We all know our leads have terrific chemistry. Miss Marvel steals the whole movie. But there's that. Number 7. This is number 1 on everybody's list, or on a lot of people's list. It's not on mine. This is my number 7, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I was in this theater. I had a terrible theater experience, but the movie was so good, though, that it made up for it. Going to rewatch this when I do, I know that this is going to just get better and better and better. It's a better film than the first one. It is a bit longer. It does not feel like it whatsoever. You give more for Haley Steinfeld's for Gwen to do. Great performance by her in this film. I love this movie to death. The animation style is fantastic. Next up is going to be Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Great action film. Super duper fun. Is it too long? Maybe. But sitting in that theater, I was expecting this 163-minute film to just go and then halt. That's what a lot of action films do, right? You get a big, powerful action scene. Then you get a lot of just dull time. You don't get that here. You get action scene after action scene after action scene with bits to pause a little bit and to catch your breath. But what this does so well is it keeps the mystery and the action so well done and so well shot and so fun that I can't help but love this film. That's probably the best pure action film of the year if we're not talking about MCU. But MCU at number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This gave you emotion, comedy, and a nice send-off for these characters. We will get some of these characters again at some point. Some of these guys we're not ever going to see again, unfortunately. But I think that the Guardians films is the best trilogy in the Marvel MCU series. But is it the best one in the Marvel series? Well, we'll see once we get to Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Then we can have that discussion because the Thor movies, we're not going to count those. The Spider-Man movies, those are Sony films technically in the MCU. So Disney produced or Disney owned. Marvel films is what we're counting here. Number 4, these are all a toss-up because I love these films so much. What I can say about number 4 is this is a film that is 3 hours long. It's Oppenheimer. This will flip back and forth. I know that my 3 and 4 are going to flip back and forth once I watch them again. Oppenheimer is a 3-hour film that tells a powerful story and one of the most important stories in history about one of the smartest men in the world and the most impactful man during World War II, one of the most impactful men in World War II, that creates the atomic bomb or helps create the idea for the atomic bomb. The first 2 hours is all about the build up to that, and then the bomb goes off. The last hour is basically a drama about him coping with it. He has to do a major speech, and he's kind of just coping with what he did. This is a phenomenal character piece, fantastic performances. Florence Pugh should have been in this film more. As a Florence Pugh fan, I would love her to be in every movie, but she's just fantastic in this, as is Cillian Murphy, who's probably going to win the Best Actor Oscar. Number 3 is Barbie. Barbie is a comedy that worked for me on every level. It's goofy, it's stupid, but it knows what it is. Ryan Gosling deserves to win Best Supporting Actor, but he's going to have some competition with Robert Downey Jr. And right now, your toss-up between Best Picture is between Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Barbie. If you would have told us two, that these 3 films are going to be your favorites for Best Picture, we would have laughed in your face. I was not expecting this to be a Best Picture film, or even up for any awards besides maybe actress, supporting actor, and production design. But now we can possibly get 10 to 11 Oscar nominations for that film. That's outrageous. But number 2 is Killers of the Flower Moon. This does not have a Blu-ray. I don't know if this will get a Blu-ray. This is a 3.5-hour film that I went to theaters hoping I was going to get to see in theaters because when I went to go and see Oppenheimer, there was no confirmation that my theater was even getting this. There was just a small chance that they would get it. I got a trailer for it. That gives me hope because when a trailer is played in front of your film, that means your theater's automatically going to get that film. More than likely, they're going to get it. Killers of the Flower Moon came at a 1 week where there was nothing else out. And people kept on asking her, are you going to get Killers of the Flower Moon? She eventually got it, and I was the only people in the theater for it, besides like maybe 9 or 10 other people. 1 o'clock showing on a Sunday, and I gotta say, this is the most engrossing film I have seen in years. It does not stop. It is not slow. It does not feel like 3.5 hours. The performances are fantastic. This might be Leo's best performance, where he gives the most range here, besides in like Wolf of Wall Street. But Lily Gladstone, she deserves this Oscar. She's going for lead actress. Um, she's going up against Margot Robbie and Emma Stone. Having not seen Poor Things yet, I can't say how Emma Stone is yet, but I know she's said to be fantastic. But I love Killers of the Flower Moon. It's my favorite film of the year until I saw Wonka. Going in to the big article announcing Wonka, no one thought this one was going to be good besides me. I knew it was going to be good. I knew I did. This movie is fun. The music is fantastic. The story is great. I love the character of Noodle. Timothy Chalamet delivers a charismatic and charming performance that matches up to a Gene Wilder, not as goofy as a Johnny Depp, but better than the Johnny Depp version. Does this match up to the 1970 the 1970 classic? Having only seen the film once and having seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 30, 40 times and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory probably 50 plus times, I can't say that yet. What I can say is that Wonka is my favorite film of the year, and I cannot wait to get this film on Blu-ray, hopefully closer to Easter time. So there is my top 10 with some honorable mentions of 2023. And what are yours? And I've got to say this, I don't think any of them are going to match on our list at all.
No.
No?
Especially since I've seen some bigger ones that you get to see that's not on, that you couldn't even review. So let's see here. I'll do honorable mentions. First up, I want to give an honorable mention to Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. Really enjoyed that film. It's basically a really interesting look at, I think, how society kind of is today, and one that I hopefully eventually will be able to get physically. Next is Birth, Rebirth on Shudder. It was a very interesting watch of what basically a mother will go through to keep her daughter alive. I'll just say that. And then you have When Evil Lurks, another movie on Shudder that is basically a Spanish film that involves possession and dealing with that. So I'll say for that one. And then Priscilla.
Mm-hmm.
Even though with Priscilla, I mean, my wife didn't like that one. But even though, it didn't make my top 10, it was still a very, very good film that had really good acting and that probably wouldn't watch again, but still worth the honorable mention.
Same for my list.
Yeah. But at number 10 is Anyone But You. I just recently watched it. It was a very funny film, not as raunchy as a comedy as was hoping it would be. I was hoping for a little bit more raunchier comedy, but it was still a very funny comedy, very fun. Sydney and Glenn have great chemistry together with one another. It did not drag. And I overall just had a very fun time with this one. I think it's one that you will definitely enjoy once you get to see it. It probably would have been in your top 10 possibly if you got to see it, already.
Mm-hmm.
Next is No Hard Feelings, the raunchy comedy of the year that I watched. Jennifer Lawrence was really great in this one. Probably my favorite role of hers besides Silver Linings Playbook, probably. And just overall very fun movie. Then comes Poor Things with Emma Stone in a great role by her. Probably, well, from what I've seen of her, might be my favorite role she's done. but I think it's a very funny film. Not perfect. Definitely could have been fixed a little bit here and there throughout to kind of shorten that runtime a little bit, but still just a very fun film that made it into my top 10. Next is one that you have saw, but uh, I'm surprised made my top 10, and that's Saltburn,
Mhm.
a film that I wasn't even going to watch. Wasn't going to watch it at all.
And who talked you into
But yeah, went ahead and watched it after you talked me into it, and it was really great film. I love the ending, the little, I guess you could say, twist at the end of the
it?
film. Um, Still not perfect. I would have changed a couple things. I know we disagree on the changes I would have made to a couple of the scenes, but still just a very great film that I enjoyed. Next is a film that would possibly be in your top 10 if you had watched it, was able to watch it already, and that's The Iron Claw.
That would
A
be number one.
um, everybody, Zac Efron, everybody does really great in this. I'm not connected with the Von Erich family, but it's still a sad film, as we know the story of their family's tragedy. So it's still a very sad film, but I know it didn't make me cry throughout, but you know, I didn't have that emotional connection with the wrestlers. Next is Megan, a film that was pretty much has been in my top 5 all year long. Hasn't dropped from the top 5 at all. Just a very fun slasher. I'm gonna call it a slasher. I don't know if you would call it a slasher, but
Sure.
um, then you got Scream 6, which we'll be talking about here shortly.
Mhm.
Wasn't perfect. Couple, it had some issues, but still a very fun film. One that next up is one that people will probably have in their worst of the year, and that's the Meg 2, The Trench. Just for me, it was fast paced. The action was great. I didn't mind all the creatures at the end of it. It was just a very fun film for me personally and for my wife. So
Very fun film. Very fun.
then you have another one would probably be in a lot of people's bottom of the list if they even gave it a shot, and that's It's a Wonderful Knife. Is at number 2. One that for me just worked on every level. Maybe it's my love for It's a Wonderful Life, but for me it worked on every level. And my number one, you could probably guess what my number one
Mhm.
is
Evil
Evil
Dead.
Dead Rise. Just a film that loved the Evil Dead franchise. It hit on every level. Loved the gore, the acting, everything was solid in it. Had to be my number one of the year, and that is my best of the year.
Mhm. Now, let me just say this, right? If we had a bigger theater in my town, because you don't have a massive theater, but you do have a AMC there,
Yeah,
where I don't have an AMC or a Cinemark or a Regal necessarily close to me unless it's like a 30-minute drive. And I have a 2 auditorium theater. So for me to get something like an Oppenheimer and a Killers of the Flower Moon, that's massive in my town.
yeah,
Now, if we would have gotten something like the Iron Claw or Anyone But You, I automatically would have stuck those in there, I think.
yeah.
Because what is my favorite genre? Okay, what's my favorite type of film? My favorite genre.
Romance, rom coms.
Exactly. Which there is none in here. Because one, the rom-coms this year, they've been really, really good. The No Hard Feelings is sort of a rom-com, sort of, in a
Yeah,
different sort of way. But we're not counting the Hallmark films. And about 100 of the new releases were Hallmark films or Hallmarky type films. So with films like that, you just kind of got to go, really? Now, if we were counting those, our list would be a little bit different. But
Mhm.
Priscilla is also on my my honorable mentions list. But let's be honest here, we got a ton of other films on there, like Joyride and Strays and Transformers. But we just
Oh
decided
yeah.
to cut that down just a little bit, so we didn't have too many. But
Mhm.
let's get into the worst of the year. So I have a few dishonorable mentions. First up is going to be The Jester. The Jester is a horror film that did not work. They had very little scary in this, nor creepy, besides our lead character. The story was lacking, the scares were minimal, and the gore was just fine at best. Gore does not make a film when you don't capitalize on a creepy character. If he would have been like a Art the Clown or a Jigsaw or a Pennywise or something, then it would have been fine. Because we've seen films like this before where they're trying to create a new horror villain favorite for everybody. The Jester did not work. What Comes Around is a little indie drama thriller film all about a young love affair becomes a menacing game of cat and mouse where nothing is what it seems in this immersive thriller. However, it's not all that immersive because with this 83-minute runtime, I was bored to death. I was bored. This film drags at only 83 minutes. The chemistry is there, but the story is just lacking and there's nothing to it. Grace Van Dien is good as Anna, but that's as nice as I can be with this film. I gave that one a 2. Next up is Snow Falls. I was very excited for this film earlier last year. 80-minute horror film that I rented, and I watched this. I went, what the heck is this? This is all about a group of 5 friends who go to a remote cabin after a snowstorm strands them. They got no power and very little food, and disorientation slowly claims that their sanity as each of them succumbs to a fear that the snow itself may be contaminated or somehow evil. This movie was good for the first half. Once you get to the horror aspect of it, it's not creepy, it's not scary, and it just grinds to a screeching halt. It just moves at a snail's pace. And this horror film could have been great. I like films where they are pretty much just stuck there in the woods. They're stuck in the woods or they're stuck in a cabin, i.e., The Shining. The greatest film to do that ever, I think. But then we got She Is Love. She Is Love is a rom-com that was not romantic nor funny. It was just 82 minutes of boredom. Beautiful Disaster is one of the most delightfully but just awful bad movies and funniest bad movies I've seen in a long time that makes no sense. And we get a sequel this, well, here in a couple weeks. It's Beautiful Wedding. That's what Beautiful Wedding is. It's a sequel to Beautiful Disaster, and I will rent that one once it comes out because I saw the first one, so I'll see the second one. Hopefully it's better than the first. But then we're going to have She Came from the Woods. She Came from the Woods is a slasher film, sort of a slasher film that wasn't all that creepy. It's all about, in 1987, a group of counselors accidentally unleash a decades-old evil on the night of on the last night of summer camp. This film could have been good. We've seen 80s style films that do work. This film was just boring and bad. Now, my number 10 is very, very split here because I don't know whether to give this one an honorable mention or not. But I'm going to go with The Tutor. The Tutor is number 10. The film I was going between is Corner Office and The Tutor. Corner Office is just so weird that I got to give it credit, right? I got to give it credit. I did not like that film. I barely finished it. That's a film, I'm going to be honest, I just left that on. I left it on. I paid very little attention to it because the story was just so boring and weird that I did not care. The Tutor, however, had something going for it. This is all about a professional tutor who takes a job at a resort manor. He soon finds himself battling a disturbed student's obsession. We've all seen that film before. Dark Secrets Unravel. And yeah, we've seen this film. We've seen this exact film 4,500 times. The acting is good. It just feels too much like a Lifetimey film. Not saying that in a bad way, because some Lifetime films are so bad they're good. The Tutor is just so bad it's bad. You don't really support anybody. You're kind of against both of our leads here. Noah here, I believe that's Noah Schnapp, isn't it? Yeah. Noah Schnapp as our kid here is fantastic. I enjoyed his performance, but this story was lacking and it was not creepy whatsoever. It was just boring. Next up is a bad film I watched that had some good redeeming qualities because it knew what it was. It's Johnny and Clyde. This had Megan Fox and Avon Jogia. Megan Fox was nice in it. She had a very little to do in this film. The movie made very little sense about two serial killers who are madly in love and they go on an endless crime spree. They're supposed to go on a heist. They add in this supernatural horror into it with this monster. It makes very little sense. Next up is going to be Mafia Mama. Mafia Mama is a comedy that wants to be a gangster film so bad, but it doesn't want to pull the trigger, and the tonal shifts are just so messily done that I can't recommend this whatsoever. One scene, you're supposed to be laughing, and another scene, she stabs somebody in the eye with her heel. So, and the tonal shift does not work. Next up is The Naughty Nine. The Naughty Nine is a awful Disney film that premiered on the Disney Channel, but we saw it on Disney Plus. And this was supposed to be their Thanksgiving type film. Every year about this time, Disney does put out a Christmassy holiday family film. We had two this year. I enjoyed the other one. This one was just so bad, it's bad. Very little redeeming about this besides some of the cinematography, a couple chuckle-worthy moments, but besides that, just a bad, boring little film where you can't support the kids. Next up is going to be Dark Windows, another low-budget horror film that, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember it. I don't remember this film. And just because of that, I'm not going to rewatch this movie, ever. But next up is going to be Zoe 102. One of the most disappointing films. One of the most disappointing films. I'm sorry. I loved Zoe 101 growing up. This one was a disgrace. This was a disgrace to the original series. They brought most of the original cast back, but this movie did not work on any level for me. Next up is Final Summer, another 80s style slasher film, but it actually takes place in the 90s. The movie is bad. It is boring. The gore is fine, but like I said before, gore doesn't make a good movie. You need to have good story as well and interesting characters, and this film had none of that. Next up, we have The Flood. The Flood, another lower budget horror film, all about these alligators. And they're unleashed upon a group of in-transit prisoners and their guards after a massive hurricane floods Louisiana. Should have known what we were getting ourselves into there, but hey, we thought that Crawl was going to be a bad film. And Crawl ended up being a fun little horror film, pretty much the same style. Hurricane, crocodiles, or an alligator, whichever one, it wasn't that one. But next up is Don't Look Away. Lower budget horror about a evil mannequin. Very little to say about that film. My least favorite film of the entire year is actually a Hallmark film called A Royal Christmas Crush. But since we're not counting Hallmark, I gotta say my least favorite film of the year is How the Gringo Stole Christmas. How the Gringo Stole Christmas is a phenomenally bad comedy that is not funny, poorly acted, and it just makes everybody unlikable, except for the daughter and George. George has some redeeming moments because he's George. He can make me entertained doing whatever he's doing. His daughter was not only beautiful, but she had a great performance in here. I really enjoyed her chemistry with her love interest. They had some decent chemistry, but besides that, this is the worst film of the year. Nothing is worse than a bad comedy. Nothing is worse than a bad comedy in my eyes. But there is that. I could throw some other ones in there, but there is my list. You're probably asking, where are some of the worst films of the year that everybody else is saying? Like The Meg, like The Exorcist, um, like The Canterville Ghost. I didn't think The Canterville Ghost was all that fun. You're going into a family animated film. What are you expecting with The Canterville Ghost? It's from overseas. I enjoyed that one as a dumb animated film. The Meg was just stupid fun. Give me sharks, and I'm entertained. I mean, I even enjoy 47 Meters Down Uncaged. I enjoy that one, even though it's a bad film with a screaming fish. Thank you, Chris Stuckman, for that joke. The Exorcist, I did not see. I don't watch the exorcism films. But I did watch Evil Dead Rise because of your recommendation, and if I would have told you I was going to enjoy that film as much as I did, nobody would have believed me. Here's my top 10, and let's see if we have any of the same in our top 10 in this one.
So I only have 2 dishonorable mentions, and first one being You People with Eddie Murphy. Just a film that did not work on any level for me. The comedy just did not hit with me. Definitely not Eddie Murphy style film in my opinion. Then you have Final Summer is my other dishonorable mention. A film that I just wanted a fun slasher gory time with, and it gave me pretty much none of that, and it gave a stupid ending to it that made no sense in my opinion, and one that it just was very disappointing. But to start off with the bottom 10, you have The Naughty Nine. Not much to say there that you didn't say. Just a very kind of got what I expected in a way with it being a Disney Channel movie that went to Disney Plus, but still ended up in my bottom 10. Next, we have You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, a film that I know worked for you, but a film that did not work for me. I did not really find it funny. To me, has to be one of Adam Sandler's bottom tier films outside of, since I have not seen a lot of the Netflix stuff of his other stuff. Definitely bottom tier for me when it comes to Adam Sandler. Then the one we thoroughly disagree on wholeheartedly, and that is Barbie. Down in there in my bottom 10, just was not for me. I did not laugh hardly any through it. I don't know. I know it worked for a lot of people, but just was not for me. Then you have The Jester after that, a movie that I wanted kind of a Terrifier feel to, but we did not get that at all. And then you got How the Gringo Stole Christmas. The best part about that movie pretty much was George Lopez and our main girl. That's pretty much it. Best parts of the movie. Then up next is one that we also disagree on big time, and that is Family Switch. One that the comedy did not work for me. I barely made it through it, but I pushed through so I could, give it a fair shot, and it just never got any better for me. Then we go into Influencer, a movie on Shudder that I barely remember. Like, if it wasn't for it being on my list, I probably wouldn't even remember the movie even came out. One that just had nothing going for it, and just I liked them. I remember I liked the the one girl in it that was sort of the bad person, the bad guy, but that was about it. Then you have Don't Look Away. Not much down now. I mean, it's a killer mannequin that they could have been. It could have been like so dumb that it was fun, but just the way they did it was so boring, so bad. Next is Kill Her Goats, a film that I watched hoping to have just a gory, fun time with, and pretty much just is a couple girls running around half naked for most of the movie, a stupid ending that makes no sense, and a killer that you barely see. And then my number one worst film of the year is Bad Things, one I just recently watched on Shudder, a film that I don't know what it was trying to be. It felt like it was trying to be The Shining in a way. It felt like it was trying to also be like her having some issues and like seeing things and stuff, and I don't know. It to me, it just couldn't figure out what it wanted to be. It didn't give hardly enough gore. The ending was stupid. It was so boring. The acting was terrible. I mean, I really didn't have a single positive thing to say about this film. There was nothing redeemable about it at all. So I'm glad I did not blind buy it. But that is my complete list of my worst of the year.
So we have a couple films that neither of us have seen on our list yet, but that's the joy of it. We don't know what's going to be on our list until we actually go through it and we just watch everything. But next up, we're going to be reviewing two films that we have in our honorable mentions. Saltburn is a very good film. But let's get right into that review. I watched this one first. I was looking forward to this one because I got a couple friends who absolutely love this film. And this film is all about struggling to find his place at Oxford University. Student Oliver Quick finds himself drawn into the world of the charming and aristocratic Felix Catton, who invites him to Saltburn, his eccentric family's sprawling estate, for a summer never to be forgotten. This one stars Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi. We're going to talk about two Jacob Elordi films because he's also in the next film. We will be reviewing Priscilla. This also stars Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant, and with a small performance from Carey Mulligan. This movie I watched, and you were not going to watch this because you looked at what was actually in it first. And I went, man, you might be missing out on a really good film, but you were going to see how I thought of it first, right?
Yeah.
My taste is very, very weird. With a movie like this, I think that a lot of the scenes make sense. It's very funny at some points. It's creepy at some points. It doesn't take itself too seriously at all. Barry Keoghan delivers a fantastic performance, but what do we expect from him? He's not had a bad performance nor a bad movie. He was fantastic last year in The Banshees of Inisherin. I think he's going to be a very good Joker in Matt Reeves' Batman sequel or in part 3 whenever we get him as the Joker. I have not seen The Killing of the Sacred Deer yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing him in that, and along with a film that came out a couple years ago called Calm with Horses. But Barry Keoghan is slowly becoming one of my favorite actors. His performance here delivers. He knows exactly what to give here. Creepy, disgusting, and just over the top, especially in that very last ending scene that is infamous for people who have watched it now. But it's pretty much a summer that none of them will forget. That's all I'm going to say. Without going into real spoilers, I can't go into much of this film without spoilers. But the performances are fantastic. The twist is very, very nice. It's very disgusting film. It's a very disgusting and weird film. But going into that, knowing that and knowing what was in it, I think reading it was worse than actually seeing it. If you look on the Parents Guide of IMDb, you read what is in the gross part of it, right? What is supposed to be nasty and gross. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to be able to finish this film. It's going to be too gross and too nasty for my liking. You watch it, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. We've seen much worse. We've seen much worse. But Saltburn is not only a fantastic film, it is one of the best films of the entire year. I would not be surprised if we get uh, a Best Picture nomination, since we do have 10. If the Academy likes it enough, we could get a Saltburn Best Picture. But overall, I thought this was a very solid film. A little overly long. One of the things didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but besides that point, the overly long runtime and a couple issues that I've already discussed, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this one. And Arnold mentioned for if I did a top 20, maybe 25 of the year, this would have been in my top 20 or 25 of the entire year. But there's my thoughts on Saltburn, and what did you think about it?
Well, for me, going into it, having almost not watched it, having known what was coming up, seeing people's reactions, watching it in videos where people were showing it to their parents and stuff like that, getting their reactions, which I thought was pretty crazy, but it was a very interesting movie that I loved the ending to, the twist ending to. The acting was good. Um, for the three big scenes that we get that we know it's infamous right now for this movie, or I guess there's four scenes technically if you count the dancing scene, but
Yeah.
Of the three other ones, you know, not put any spoilers out there, but I think two of the scenes went a little too far. I think they didn't need to go that far. I think they did enough before they got to that point to show his infatuation with Jacob's character. For me personally,
Would you
um,
would you like to say what those were? Because there's the dancing scene, there's the vampire scene, there's the bathtub scene, and there's the grave scene. That's what they're all known as now. So
yeah.
what wasn't the dancing scene, but what were the
Now,
two that went too far for you a little bit?
for me, I think the bathtub scene went too far. I don't think they needed to go to the extent that they did for that one. I
Mm-hmm.
think what they showed him doing before he did what he did in that scene, I think was plenty enough for me. I got the point that he was obsessed with him or whatever. I get it. And then the graveyard scene. I think the how he did with that scene in the beginning of that scene was perfectly fine enough. It showed how much he was sad that he was gone, in my opinion, or whatever. I don't think it needed to go any further from there. The vampire scene for me, I was fine with that scene. Now, was it gross? Yes, it's gross. Um, but it's not something that is uncommon for couples to do. I think it made sense because she was sort of teasing him and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and so for me, that fit for me. It didn't bother me. I thought that was perfectly fine. But just those other two scenes just went for me a little too far. I also felt like there was a unneeded character in the movie. I thought one of the characters, I think he was like the cousin or something. I just felt like he was very unneeded. I don't think he had much to bring to the movie. You could have just took him out, and the movie, nothing in the movie really would have changed necessarily. So, but uh, but yeah, it was still a very, very good film that should have been trimmed down a little bit, but still overall I gave it a 4 out of 5. One that's still very solid and obviously made it into my top 10, and one that I would rewatch again if and when it gets a Blu-ray release.
Yeah. Now, this is a film I didn't think I was going to watch until we did the top 10, right? Because we were supposed to do another day, but then things happened. And now, today we're doing the show, and I thought, well, since I have a family member who wants to see it, who lives in my house, my mom really wanted to see Priscilla. So I went, okay, I'll pay the $20. And I'm like, you watched it too, and you said to me, do you think it's going to be worth a $20 rental for me personally? And for me, I think it personally was, right? Because Priscilla is a film that is from the perspective of Priscilla Presley, the unseen side of a great American myth, and Elvis and Priscilla's long courtship and turbulent marriage from a German army base to his estate at Graceland. What I will say here is that Jacob Elordi is freaking fantastic. He delivers, man. He has stepped up from the Kissing Booth movies. Having only seen the first two, I'm like, okay, give this dude great work. Give him a good script, and he delivers here as Elvis. We also have Kaylee Spaney here, who is up for a Golden Globe, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But she's fantastic. She steals the scenes away from him. How Priscilla steals a scene away from Elvis is fantastic. It does drag a little bit for me once we get to before they have the baby, right? Before they have Lisa Marie. It drags a little bit. And I'm not going to say they didn't do enough, but I think that they could have done more and shown more because some of the scenes just felt a little bit too quick. Now, what happens in this film is awful. This should never happen to anybody, right? However, watching a movie that has to do with the character of Elvis Presley, yes, this is about Priscilla, but it's also about Elvis. Elvis is in this film just as much as Priscilla is, as he should be, because you're exploring their relationship. They do well with the relationship. The chemistry is there. I loved these two together. What didn't work is the overall drama of it, where everything kind of explodes. Now, we have never met Elvis. We will never meet him because sadly he is gone. We could meet Priscilla at some point. We could. You are in the state of Tennessee. So, I mean, you never know who you're going to run into there. In my town in Ohio, I'm not going to run into nobody. But Priscilla, very interesting character. The ending just felt a little bit too quick. It kind of stopped too early. And my mom is a big Elvis fan, and my grandma loves Elvis. I mean, Die Hard, loves this man to death. This would not be a film for her. She would shut this movie off immediately. We know how the love story started, but that's besides the point. Watching their courtship happen is very intriguing because you're seeing her grow up. And I think they did just enough to make her look a little bit older at some points, but also she kind of just stopped aging at a certain point. Instead, her hair just got bigger. Her hair just got bigger. I have a couple issues with this film. It's still a very darn good film. I mean, I gave this film a 4 out of 5, but I thought this one was going to be a 4.5 to a 5 out of 5 for me. Being a big Elvis fan as I am, I think that the Elvis film from last year is miles better than this film because it gives you more on him. It goes more into the story, and you get more of what kind of happened from that film's there's two different perspectives about how the relationship ended, right? They show two completely different things, and they expand upon it in the Elvis film. This one, it just ends, and I thought you could have done more with it. But Priscilla is a really good film that I did enjoy. Am I ever going to watch it again? I don't know. I can see myself watching this one again at some point, but Elvis, I can see that film being watched many, many more times. I have it displayed on my Blu-ray shelf right now, just facing on because I love the cover and I love the movie. But Elvis, a better film, but Priscilla, still a very good A24 film directed by Sofia Coppola. And what were your thoughts on Priscilla?
For me, I thought the acting was great from everybody. They made them look the part very well. Cinematography was really nice. The story was it was good, but it didn't feel like it gave it its all, I guess, in a way. I felt like like you said, it kind of ended abruptly. We don't know how much of the story is true, how much of the story isn't true. But it was still a good film. I mean, it was still really good. It was good enough for me to give it a 4 out of 5. But to not really go into tons of spoilers, you pretty much said pretty much everything that can be said. So yeah, it was a 4 out of 5 for me as well.
Yeah. Would you say that the Elvis film is better for you as well?
I think the Elvis film is better. Austin Butler is a better Elvis, in my opinion.
He looks more like him.
Yeah. Yeah. He looked the part better. Maybe sounded better possibly when he sung and stuff. All that possibly. But yeah, I think Austin Butler did better, and I think that movie is better, even though that one kind of gets a little long as well with that runtime that it has. But yeah, that one's definitely better.
Now, granted, with this film, we don't hear him sing a whole lot, but the voice was kind of spot on here. For Jacob to do an Elvis voice like that, oh, come on now. I was not expecting that. I was expecting it to be fine, but yeah. Austin Butler is the definitive best Elvis actor I have seen play him. Heck, he darn near won the Oscar for playing Elvis. He did with the Golden Globe, but hey, that's fine. There's our 2 reviews for this week, but we have a lot more reviews for you next week. But first, let's get into the ranking of the Scream films. We decided last week, well, no, a couple weeks ago, that we wanted to bring in some rankings of some horror franchise, some comedy series, just different types of film franchises that we've either seen multiple times or that neither of us have seen, that we both own. But we decided that the Scream films would probably be the best ones to do because we've seen all of them. And I will say this. Rewatching all of these films over again, besides the 2 documentaries in the 5 film set, which I have seen a couple of times, and Screaming Inside Story is freaking phenomenal. Let's get into it. Watching these over again, I have a better respect for the Scream series than I did. First up is going to be Scream 2. Now, we are going from the weakest to the best. The worst to the best. None of these films are bad. None of these films are bad. But Scream 2 is just one of those films that I don't enjoy as much as everybody else. You can't really capitalize on one of the greatest horror films ever made in Scream. Does that kind of spoil what our number 1 is? More likely, yeah. But it's everybody's one. It's everybody's one. Everybody's going to have a different one. This one just drags for me. I don't care for the college scene. I don't really care for how little they use Randy in this film. I think it's slower than the rest of the films. And when I first watched this film, I thought that the reveal was nice. Rewatching it again after what they do in another film, which I will get into in just a minute, it kind of feels like it's copying this one. Scream 2 is a darn good film, but it doesn't capitalize on the original classic. Next up is going to be Scream 6. Now, Scream 6 is a film that I do not love. I was the only one in my theater watching this, which means I got the full effect. I got the entire feeling of watching this film all by myself, kind of at home. And I watched this in the theater, and I called who the killers were, most of them. They kind of copied 2 a little bit with multiple killers. And what they did here, they kind of copied the exact reason why, too. So, to me, that was lazy. The movie's a bit overly long. Once we get to Gale Weathers is kind of in and out of the film. She doesn't really have a definitive ending in this film.
Yeah.
Now, does Gale need to be in this film? No, she's kind of just a legacy character. Does Kirby need to be in this film? No, she's kind of just in there because you couldn't get Ned back. And obviously, we all know what happens in 5, so no David Arquette. But I'm not a big fan of our one character who turns out to be one of the bad guys. They are probably the weakest of the reveals to me, and I thought that this ending goes on way too long. Once we get to the shrine, sort of, the moment with the shrine, man, that looked great in the trailer. But that drags out for a good 30 minutes. It drags on for way too long, and the final battle, there's kind of 2 battles here. The first battle is very fun, but the second battle just goes on way too long, and it outstretches this film to over 2 hours when you easily could have shaved off 15 minutes of this and missed nothing. Next up is going to be Scream 3. This is a lot of people's worst Scream film because they don't like it being about them making a stab film. I like that. I like I like seeing how they make a film. I like films about how you make a film. And what they did here is they rebuilt scenes from the original Scream on a set. They used the original Scream set, sort of. And I enjoyed that. I think that the idea of Sydney's mom coming in is legitimately creepy. The first time I watched it, it legitimately got me a little bit. I'm like, okay, that works. I enjoy the makeup on her. And I get why a lot of people think it's so freaking stupid. But the movie knows what it's doing by that point. It knows how fun it needs to be because you can't just be another carbon copy of number 2. What you had to do here is you had to reinvent it. And they reinvented it in a way. But 3 is just a very fun film, and I enjoyed that one overall. 3 is one that I have a deeper love for than I did before. 2 went down quite a bit, but 3 bumped up. Next up is going to be Scream 5. I love this movie. I love Scream 5. Not only because I love our lead characters, I also forgot, I sort of forgot the big reveal at the end. I remembered one reveal that happened. I didn't remember the other, so that was a nice surprise. But I do like the fact that they did have the guts to kill off a legacy character in this, in Dewey. Dewey had a rough go of it in this film. I mean, he had a rough go of it. And they don't really spoil what happens in there. And I like the fact that they do a different version of a opening scene, because your opening scene isn't technically a kill. It's not an opening kill. That just starts off the film, and I really enjoyed that because in all the rest of them, there's a kill or multiple kills, and you get your standard Scream intro, sort of. I like the fact that they go back to the house as well, to the original house. That was a nice touch. The cinematography in that scene where they kind of reveal that they're in the same house as the original killings were in. That was fantastic. I enjoyed that one. But the biggest surprise to me was that my second favorite. Yeah. One more time. My second favorite Scream film was Scream 4. I love Emma Roberts. I've always loved her, and I always will. But this film works for me. It's stupid fun, but it's more of a comedy in a way. There's horror and there's comedy in here. They add in the character of Sydney in here just early enough to not make her feel useless, but also be sort of the main character. What they do here is they add in Dewey and Gail and their relationship. They add in a jealousy aspect to it. I enjoyed that to it, but Scream 4 is much better than I remembered it being, and I have a deeper love for Scream 4. The reveal does go on a bit too long in the hospital, but that is besides the point. And then, of course, number one is going to be Scream. I think that's a given for everybody. Everybody loves Scream. It's probably one of the greatest slasher films ever, and one of the greatest horror films ever made. No film will ever top the original Scream in the Scream series. So, and we didn't talk about these. We did not talk
Nope.
about our rankings. So, what are
No.
yours?
Well, I didn't have to. I didn't have to rewatch them for me. I've seen them so many times; they're pretty much ingrained in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
So my bottom two, they always can flip flop for me for my bottom two, but I'm gonna say this time around, anyways, my least favorite is Scream 2. To me, it's good, but it just, as you said, it doesn't capitalize on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what they do with Randy's character, with the character of Randy. I think that it overall it's good, but there's just nothing overly amazing about it. And then after that, for me, is Scream 3. I think Scream 3, it's one of those that it's, if you can just shut your brain off and have the dumb fun with it,
Mm-hmm.
then I can see it being higher on the list. And it does have some moments where I enjoy it, but overall, if you took the ghost space killer aspect out of this film and the characters of Sydney and Dewey out of this movie, I don't know. I don't know if it would even have as high a score as it does for me personally.
Yeah.
And then after that, as bad as I hate to say it, because I love the one actress in it a lot, but next would be Scream 5. Only because looking at the other three films, we know what's going to be my number one. That's a given.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Scream 5, as much as I loved it on the first time around, as you rewatch it multiple times, it really copies a lot from the first film. And it doesn't bring a lot new to it. It's supposed to be a sequel, but it pretty much is almost like a remake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they couldn't figure out what to do. They tried to bring nostalgia into it, but at the same time, they just copied the first one a lot. So while I love while Melissa was great in it, I love going back to the house. loved Ghostface and how brutal the kills were in it.
Mhm.
It copied the first one a little too much to be higher on my ranking. Next would be Scream 4. Um, Scream 4 was a film that, again, it, in a way, at some points copied the first one, the final scene with them being all at the house
Mhm.
and everything. It did give a little bit of it was more different than what Scream 5 did, but again, the ending was kind of the same as the first one. It was still fun. The kills were decent. Um, but it just overall was a film that just lands kind of right in the middle for me. And then my number 2 would be Scream 6. Now, I understand people's issue with the killer reveal. It's not the best killer reveal. It's not the best reason for the killer. The ending does go on a little too long. I don't think that Courtney Cox really needed to be in it. She kind of felt just thrown in for a face and a name. But the kills were great. It was somewhat more different than the other ones because they took it out of Woodsboro and took it to New York.
Yep.
And it was just an overall a little more fun film for me with really gory kills. I do still say that Mason Gooding's character should be dead by now. I believe that's the actor's name, but he should be dead by now. They were trying to make him into the next Dewey, but it is what it is. But and number 1 will always be Scream. Nothing beats Matthew Lillard and what's his face, Florida. It's been a long day.
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, Skeet Ulrich. Sorry. Been a long day. They are the the top tier villains in the Scream franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Just nothing's going to beat that one. There's not much to say that hasn't been said over the years for it. So that's my number 1.
Now, who do you think is the best reveal besides the original 2?
Ooh, that's tough. I would say probably from Scream 3 because the other ones are just copies, in my opinion, of the other films. Scream 3's reveal gave at least somewhat of a different feel to it and of a more different reason. But yeah, that would probably be the next best one would be that reveal.
Oh, I have to say that my favorite would probably have to be in 4 because watching that, you get why she did it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she had a better reason than in 2, 6, and 5. But I like that reveal more than the other ones because, 1, it makes a lot more sense. And if you're watching it for the first time not expecting her, even though I did have it spoiled for me back when the film did come out,
Yeah.
I think it still works. But 5 is still a really good reveal, I think. But let's get into 2 more things, and then we will be done with this podcast for this week. This week is the Golden Globes. And the next week is the Critics' Choice and Emmys. We will only be covering the winners of the Emmys, and we will be doing our predictions for the Critics' Choice next week. Now, the Golden Globes are very weird. The Golden Globes are a very odd voting body. because they only had a certain number of members that were not very diverse for many, many years. And what's recently happened is they've expanded. So they've got a different voting body now, where some of them are not going to vote this year. It's just a big thing. So they're mostly, I don't think they're going to do anything Golden Globesy this year. And by that, I mean they did things that nobody else did, like a Nicole Kidman winning or being the Ricardos, or Missing Link beating out The Lion King and Toy Story 4 for Best Animated Feature. Not saying that they're bad films because they're not. They're not. But that's besides the point. They do very Golden Globes-like things sometimes. So they are this Sunday on here. So we are only going to do the movie awards because we do not do the TV shows. We have not seen the TV shows, so we can't fairly vote on the TV shows. So let's get right into it. Where to begin? A lot of categories. We're going to start off with if I can find it. I'm going down a list here of TV shows. So
I think they'd have them categorized better.
Where I'm at, they really don't. They have them motion picture score, so I might have to go with the Golden Globes website, I guess, so I can separate them. Here we go. Go down here. There's director. Well, there's score. There's song. And here we go. Okay. So we're going to start off with Best Original Song Motion Picture. Addicted to Romance from She Came to Me, Dance the Night from Barbie, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, Peaches from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Road to Freedom from Rustin, and What Was I Made For from Barbie. Now, what we're going to do in our Golden Globe predictions is what we think is going to win and what we think should win. So two completely different opinions on some of these. So what do you think is going to win and what do you think should win?
What I think should win would be Peaches. Just because I love that song. It was a big hit. But what I say will probably win is going to be Ken. I'm Just Ken song. Unfortunately, from a movie that I hated.
Now, I absolutely loved I'm Just Ken and Dance the Night. Peaches is a really, really good song. What I think should win, I think it should go to I'm Just Ken. And I think it is going to go to I'm Just Ken. But right now it's leaning towards like the Oscars are going to go for What Was I Made For, because it is a Billie Eilish song. I'm not a Billie Eilish fan because I haven't heard a ton of her music. And to me, these other two songs are more stuck in my head than that one is. Because Dance the Night is actually on the radio every single day when I'm at work. And I'm Just Ken is just such a stupid and memorable song that I think it deserves it more. But if it goes to Peaches, I don't think it will be a shocking thing. But I think it's going to go to I'm Just Ken. Next up is going to be for Best Original Score. We have Killers of the Flower Moon, The Zone of Interest, Oppenheimer, The Boy and the Heron, Poor Things, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What do I think should win? I think it should go to Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. That's what I think is going to win as well, is Oppenheimer. But a Golden Globes thing that could happen, not saying it's not deserving, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Having not seen Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron, or The Zone of Interest yet, I'm going to have to go with Oppenheimer. What do you think is going to win Best Original Score? What do you think should win?
Well, I've only seen two of those out of the whole category. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with the movie that's in my top 10, and that's Poor Things for both of those, because I mean, Oppenheimer may be better, or Killers of the Flower Moon may be better, but I don't know. I've not seen those. They're too long for me to watch. So, but I guess I'll just have to go Poor Things if those are the only two choices I'm going between.
Until Oppenheimer goes to Peacock, then you got a shot. Then you got a shot. Well, and also Killers of the Flower Moon is going to be on Apple TV Plus this upcoming. At this point, it'll be next Friday on January 12th. But next up is going to be Best Screenplay. So what the Golden Globes does is they don't do Best Adapted and Best Original Screenplay. They do Best Screenplay. So we have Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Past Lives. I have seen 4 of these. I've seen 4. What I think is going to win, it might go to Oppenheimer. What do I think should win? I think it should go to Killers of the Flower Moon. Because if you can write a 3.5-hour film and not make it feel like 3.5 hours, then you did a damn good job with your screenplay, completely tightening it and not making it feel overly long at all. That's an accomplishment within itself. But one thing that could happen is it could go to Barbie, or it could go to Celine Song for Past Lives, depending on how well they love the film Past Lives. But that's a toss-up. If we did Best Adapted and Best Original, then it'd be a different story. But since we're just going with one screenplay category, that's tough. But I'm going to go with Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Will win, should win, either Barbie or Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well, again, I've only seen Barbie and Poor Things. So, me personally, I wouldn't go for Barbie. So, I guess I'd have to go for Poor Things again. I say probably Killers and Oppenheimer is better, just because I did have issues with, some issues with Poor Things. But, since I've not seen those other two, I'm going to have to go Poor Things again.
Next up, we got Best Director. This is more going to be for my category, because I have seen all but one of these. We have Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, Greta Gerwig, Barbie, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, Celine Song, Past Lives, and Bradley Cooper for Maestro. I'm going to go with it's Christopher Nolan's year, but it wouldn't surprise me if it went to Barbie. Because of Greta Gerwig, I think she should have won for Little Women. I think everybody was very upset when she didn't win for Little Women. But the Golden Globes do love Marty. They love Martin Scorsese. And I do too. They're my top 2, 3, and 4 of the entire year. So I'm going to say it's going to be pushing for Christopher Nolan's year, but Christopher Nolan is going to win this, and I think he is very deserving of it. And you're just going to have to go with Poor Things, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything with Poor Things in it, and anything else I haven't seen is just going to be Poor Things at this point. Because apparently that's all they're going to put in there that I'm going to see.
Best performance by an actor in a supporting role in any motion picture. We have Willem Dafoe in Poor Things, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things, and Charles Melton in May, December. This is a tough category. I'm going to say it's going to go to Robert Downey Jr., but there's 3 people that I can see winning this. This is a 3-horse race. There's a lot of love for Charles Melton in May, December. Fantastic film. He gives the best performance in it. But I think it goes to Robert Downey Jr. He's shown that he can do more than just Tony Stark and Iron Man. I mean, he did The Judge. That was a fantastic film. But this film, he gives it his all and he transforms in Oppenheimer. But don't be shocked if Ryan Gosling wins this because he knew what to give to that performance. He knew how cheesy and over the top to give it. If they would have played it, told him to play it straight, it would have been an awful performance and made no sense. But since they knew how to direct him and what to give that, oh, he deserves the nomination and he deserves the win. So it's a two-horse race at the Oscars, but I don't see Charles Melton getting in unless they take out one of the Poor Things actors.
Yeah, which I'm surprised. I mean, they did okay in Poor Things, but I wouldn't say they were anything award-winning performances in that movie. So I would definitely say it's probably going to one of the other ones. You know, either Robert Downey Jr. or somebody like that, because I wouldn't vote for either one of Mark Ruffalo or William Dafoe. Just from seeing the movie.
So who'd you put your $5 bet on to win this?
Probably Robert Downey Jr. because that seems to be the one they talked about the most, at least from what I've heard. You know, you hear more about the Oscar buzz than I do, and the awards buzz than I do. But from what I've heard, it seems like it'd be Robert Downey Jr.
And this is going to be a very interesting one. A few of these actresses are not going to be up for an Oscar this year. Best performance by a female actor in a supporting role in any motion picture. We have Rosamund Pike in Saltburn, Julianne Moore, May December, Jodie Foster, Naiad, Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers, and Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple. This is tough. I say it goes to Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. She delivered a fantastic performance. Emily Blunt was great as well, but Divine Joy Randolph had more to do than Emily Blunt did. Emily Blunt's character in Oppenheimer didn't have a ton to do. She was kind of just his wife. But she had some really, really good, outstanding scenes, but not as many as Divine Joy Randolph. And having not seen Naiad or The Color Purple yet, I can't speak on those two, but Divine Joy Randolph seems to be the favorite. Who do you think?
Out of what I've seen, I would probably definitely go Divine Joy just because she does have more to do in the movie than I think. What's her face from Rosamund Pike from Saltburn?
Yeah, she's barely in it.
Yeah, so to me it'd be Divine Joy, which I will say I think in the Holdovers I wish we could have got a little more of her character, but I still think there was enough there to where she could win that one.
Mm-hmm. I think it should go to her, and I think she will win this one to build up buzz for the Oscars and win the Oscar race. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy: Timothée Chalamet for Wonka, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario, Matt Damon in Air, Joaquin Phoenix in Beau is Afraid, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. I have only seen 3 of these, but out of all these guys, I think only one of them even gets the no. I think there's a shot that Jeffrey Wright gets a nomination, having not seen the film yet, but hearing all the buzz on him and how fantastic he is. But I think they give this one to Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I'd personally go for Paul, but Matt Damon was damn good. Timothée Chalamet was good, but he's not as good as he was in like A Little Women or in A Lady Bird. But he's still one of the best actors working today and just getting better with every performance. At many points, he will have awards on his mantle many, many times. But this year's just not his year for Wonka. I think it should get more Oscar buzz, but it's just not. It's not working for everybody else as much as it is for me. But what do you think?
Well, my personal personal preference would be Nicolas Cage, being a Nicolas Cage fan. Now, was his performance the best performance? No, he's good. He's really good. But if I'm choosing between the ones I saw, I've not seen Timothy yet and Wonka. Not seen the other two, but I'd have to go with Paul Giamatti. I think Giamatti did a really good job in The Holdovers, and definitely made the movie. So I would say it's probably going to be Paul.
This is very interesting because we have two that are favorites to get nominated, and a third that's very, very close to get nominated. The Oscars only do 5, so we'll see. This is best performance by a female actor in a motion picture. So this is your leading role. Natalie Portman in May December, Margot Robbie in Barbie, Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings, Fantasia Barrino in The Color Purple, Emma Stone in Poor Things, and Alma Hoisty in Fallen Leaves. I haven't seen that film. It's not playing anywhere around me, and it's supposed to be on movie at some point. It's a foreign film. I do want to see it, but it's just not out anywhere for me to see it right now in theaters or on its service. So for me, I believe it's going to go to Emma Stone. Hearing how great she is, being the lover of La La Land, like I am, having loved her for many, many years, all the way back like a Super Bad, and Easy A, the House Bunny, Zombie Land. I just love this actress. I even love her in the Amazing Spider-Man films. I love her to death. But I'm going to push for her, but don't be surprised if Margot Robbie gets this win. But I'm going to say it's going to go to Emma Stone. And from what I've seen, she's very deserving. Having not seen the film yet, unfortunately, hopefully in February or March. Give me that on Vudu so I can buy it for $25. But hey, you got your money's worth out of it because it's in your top 10. So,
yeah.
But, and being a big fan of their last film together, her film that she did with the same director was The Favorite. That got a ton of Oscar love. 8 nominations and even won 1 or 2 of them. With a nomination for her as well. So adding that in there, I'm going to go with Emma Stone.
Well, I've actually at least seen 3 performances from this category. I love Margot Robbie, and she does a really good job with what she is given. But what I would want to win is Jennifer Lawrence, just because I would love to see her win and win for a raunchy comedy film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to have a raunchy comedy film take a win in in a category. But who I think will win, I think it'll be Emma Stone. She just did so well in that film. She was hilarious. I don't know if anybody could beat her, in my opinion, in that category.
Next up is going to be Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Motion Picture Drama. Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Barry Keoghan, Saltburn, and Andrew Scott in All of Us Strangers. To be fair, All of Us Strangers has not played in wide theaters yet. This has played at a few film festivals, so the people who have seen it are either overseas or something like that, or they've been to film festivals. We have not. So I believe this is going to go to Cillian Murphy. I'd love to see Leonardo DiCaprio take it, but I believe this is going to be Cillian Murphy's year to win this Oscar. And to get to the Oscar, you got to start with the Golden Globe. And I believe it's going to be Cillian Murphy, and I believe he's deserving, but I'd be pushing for Leonardo DiCaprio, but I love Cillian as well. What do you think?
Well, the only one I've seen would be Barry Keoghan, which he does really good. Um, so I mean, I guess by default I'd have to say him winning, but who I think would win out of the ones I've not seen. I mean, I don't know. It's such a toss up between. It's always going to be a toss up between I think Killers and Oppenheimer for most of those categories. So I'll say I guess Killian, but you know I've not seen his performance, so.
Next up, best performance by a female actor in a motion picture drama. Sandra Hüller and Anatomy of a Fall, which I will have a review of next week because I did rent that one. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Greta Lee, Past Lives, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, Kaylee Spaney, Priscilla, and Annette Bening and Naiad. I believe this is going to go to Lily Gladstone. I think they are putting her in the wrong category. She should be going in Best Supporting instead of leading. Because, yes, she is a leading character, but this is mostly Leo's film. It's Leo's film. So to me, she's a supporting character, but she steals the whole film away from every other person in the movie. So I get why they're going after it, but it's right now a 3-horse race to see who wins the Best Actress Oscar. It's between Emma Stone, Lily Gladstone, and Margot Robbie. Who's going to win? We just got to see, but I believe it's going to go to Lily Gladstone, and I believe she is deserving of it as well.
I would probably say the same. I mean, she's the one that's, to me, has gotten the most talk for that category. So I would say Gladstone would probably be the one to win it. And of the ones I've actually seen, it's only what's her face from Priscilla. So
yeah,
but she did really good in that movie too. I mean, she was really good in that. Then gave a solid performance, but I'd say probably Gladstone taking it.
The next category we're not going to speak on too much because you haven't seen any of them, and I've only seen one. This is Best Motion Picture Non-English Language. It's Anatomy of a Fall, Fallen Leaves, Io Capitano? Sure. Past Lives, Society of the Snow, and The Zone of Interest. The only ones I could see as of right now is Anatomy of a Fall, which I said I will be reviewing next week. I've seen Past Lives, and I could see A Society of the Snow right now on Netflix, but the runtime just scares me. For that one, 2.5 hours. I've heard it's fantastic. I may watch it at some point, but right now I believe it's going to go to Anatomy of a Fall, but you got to watch out for The Zone of Interest and Past Lives. But hearing the buzz could go to Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, or The Zone of Interest, but I'm going to say Anatomy of a Fall. Even though Past Lives is freaking fantastic. Past Lives is one of the best romance stories. It is heartbreaking. You're just seeing it. It's just heartbreaking. Now, this category is fucking stupid. This is stupid. This is Cinematic Box Office Achievement. Best Cinematic Box Office Achievement. This is pretty much, you made the most money, yay. Barbie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, and Super Mario Brothers movie. This is stupid because I don't know how they're going to vote on this.
It's going to be Taylor Swift. We all know that.
It's got to be Taylor.
If it's a fan voted award, it's going to go to Taylor. If they're going by what made the most money, what made the most impact, it's either going to Mario or Barbie. Since I don't know how they're going to do it, and they haven't said, what's made the most money was Barbie.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about cinematic and box office achievement, it made the most money. So I gotta say it's Barbie. But if you're doing award during it, then it's probably going to go to the Eras Tour. But I don't know.
Yeah. Because to me, Barbie's just too obvious if you're going by how much money they made. Because that would be the obvious pick, and it wouldn't be that much of a surprise. But maybe that's just the route they're going. I don't know.
I'm hoping they get rid of it next year or explain how they voted for it during the show.
Yeah.
Because if they announce how they voted it, then sure, I'll respect it a little bit more. But it's pretty self-explanatory with something like Best Animated Feature. Best Motion Picture Animated. We got The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Suzume, Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Wish. We all know where this is going. It's going for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That's going to win, and I believe it's the most deserving of it, even though Mario is a fun film. Elemental was good. I haven't seen the other three, but Spider-Man is the obvious choice here. Any comment on that one?
You know me, I'd go Mario, but I enjoyed Spider-Man too. You know, that was a fun one. But yeah, I think it'll go Spider-Man just because of how great it looked and everything. Even though Mario did make the more money, Spider-Man looked better. So
yeah,
say Spider.
And it did have a better story with that one as well. But still, we got 2 more categories, and then we'll go into what's coming up next week. This will be a very light week as well. The week after that, oh boy, we got a lot coming your way. Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. This is not really fair because you don't really have a musical besides one, and it's technically not a musical. Oh, we got Poor Things, May December, The Holdovers, Barbie, American Fiction, and Air. I believe that it's a toss-up between Poor Things and Barbie. With how many nominations it got, I'm gonna say Barbie.
Yeah, it's gotta be Barbie.
But don't discount Poor Things. Don't discount that because they will boom, boom, boom. They will take those wins as much as they can get them. Because if right now that's where it's heading, it's probably the much better made film than Barbie, but Barbie is so fantastically made. Poor Things, it looks like it's going to win the costumes. Looks like it's going to win the best actress, but I don't know.
And this is musical category?
This is musical or comedy.
Or comedy. Okay, I was just saying because Poor Things wasn't much of a musical. I was confused there. I was like, wait a minute. Poor Things ain't much of a musical. Okay, then I would say Poor Things for me then if it's or comedy. So
most of the time they have a musical in there, like say a West Side Story or a Wonka or something like that. I'm not surprised that it didn't put In the Color Purple, but because that's a musical, and they technically they gave it some nominations, but I have seen 4 of those, and I'm going to go with Barbie, but I'm not going to discount that Poor Things could potentially take that win.
Yeah.
Next up is the final category. This is Best Motion Picture Drama. The Zone of Interest, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Anatomy of a Fall. I'm going to say it goes to Oppenheimer. Killers of the Flower Moon could take this, but I believe it's going to Oppenheimer. That's been the front runner for Best Picture since the movie was even announced. We saw the runtime, we saw the cast, we heard the buzz, and we just know that it's probably going to be Oppenheimer winning Best Picture at this point, just to see how the Critics' Choice goes and the SAGs. Then we get to the Oscars. But since you haven't seen any of these, what is your prediction on what should or on what you think will win?
Probably Oppenheimer. I would say, but you know, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say Killers. I'm gonna give it to Killers just to be different.
Don't get me wrong. I really love that movie. I love it so much, and I want that Blu-ray to come out right now. But next up is going to be our final section of this podcast, and that is going to be what's coming next week. Since we didn't do any real new releases that came out this week that we both watched. We're going to do Good Grief, which is the new Netflix film. It's the directorial debut by Daniel Levy. It's on Netflix now. I will be watching that one this week, and I believe you will too.
Hopefully, yeah.
We will have the brand new Hallmark film, Love on the Right Course, which let's see how that goes. There's not a lot coming out this week. There's not a lot at all. I will be seeing Night Swim tomorrow after I get off of work. I was supposed to go and see it today, but tomorrow is the better option. So I'll be going seeing Night Swim, and I'll have my review of Night Swim next week. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out to the theater or not. It kind of depends on how your week goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But next week, we got a lot. The next week, the 11th is the start of Ted, the Ted series on Peacock. From what I saw on IMDb, I looked at the episode guide to see whether they were going to be doing weekly releases or dropping the whole thing at once. It looks like they're dropping the whole thing at once. So we'll be probably binge watching that and giving our review of Ted next here in 2 weeks. But we also got a Hulu film, which is technically out in theaters right now, called Self-Reliance with Anna Kendrick in it. We also got Lift on Netflix, as well as Role Play. And I believe that this is a film. It says it's a movie on releases.com, and that is Destroy All Neighbors.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a movie.
And then there is also going to be one that I'm interested in seeing, and that is TIM. That's a mystery thriller from Brainstorm Media. I think that looks like a fun mystery sci-fi thriller, so I'll be watching that one, and then also I'll have my review for Mean Girls. Mean Girls the musical. So there's everything, guys. Oh, that was a show. And next week we'll also be covering our Critics' Choice predictions, which won't be as lengthy as the Golden Globes because they don't do Best Supporting in any motion picture, and then they don't do actor and comedy and musical. They just do actor and actress and supporting actor and supporting actress, and then just one Best Picture. So less categories, but we'll be doing that. We'll be covering who won, our reactions to the Golden Globes as well. So there is everything. Let us know what you thought of our top 10 best and worst. Also, if you have any honorable mentions, let us know down below. And also, I want to tell Scottie happy birthday. As we are
Thank you.
as we are recording this show, it is his birthday today.
Yes.
And he celebrated it, and he's 1 year older.
Yeah. I'm a very young 23.
No, you're not. You're 33.
Hush up. Don't give the secrets away.
Thou shalt not know the truth. But anyways, happy birthday. And where can we find you on YouTube? And how close are you to the 250 subscriber mark?
We're one away.
Well, last time I looked, we actually hit the 250. I don't know if it's gone down or
I
not.
looked just like 2 hours ago.
Okay. So very close. We'll just say that. But you can find us at Scottie and Ashley Johnson on YouTube and Instagram, she says. So hopefully we hit that 250 mark. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
And all of you guys can find me right here on the YouTube channel you're watching right now. I'm Noah Kaser. Every single week, we'll be having a show for you guys, and I am so close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. 16 away. Like and subscribe if you're new. Let us know your thoughts down below. And we will solve you guys next time for more reviews as well as more awards, fighting. No. But we will see all of you guys next time.